So I have tried to make this video a few times and I haven't really been able to get through it. So let's see if I can get through it. I'm at the house now, obviously, and I have some family members, have a friend who are on their way to help kind of finish up a lot of the painting for the trim and start putting in the bathroom floors. And it has been a really, really rough couple of weeks for me. When I started this 2 years ago, the prices were not nearly as volatile as they are now, and also the interest rate was not nearly as volatile as it is now. The result that I'm looking at from all this volatility over the past year is that basically the interest rate that I started with is no longer valid, and I locked in an interest rate way earlier than I was comfortable with, but I was still convinced we could get everything done on time fairly comfortably, and that turned out not to be the case. So kind of right now, the long and short of it is that with the interest rate that I'm looking at now, my payment will be about 2/3 of my monthly take-home pay, which is very much not where I want to be. It's very uncomfortable. If we are not able to close by the deadline, if I don't have the house finished in basically 10 days, I will lose that interest rate, and the monthly payment will be almost my entire monthly income. And I don't know what happens if that happens. I honestly don't know if the bank will even let me have the house, because we did not plan for this. I don't know how we could have planned for this, and it's already stressful enough trying to build a house, in the best of times. But when you're trying to do it under a deadline where you legitimately don't know if you fail to meet the deadline, you might not be able to keep your house. It's really hard. It's really, really hard, because I've poured so much of myself into this house. I've, been down here working on it when I had COVID. I've done so much for it, and the thought of losing it is more than I can bear. And I'm really lucky in that I am, my parents keep saying you're surrounded by angels, and I really am. Like I said, I have family members and friends that are taking their days off to come and help me. And there's just this part of me that realizes that everyone could maybe try to kill themselves to get this done on time, and then something out of our control could just tear it all away. And I don't know what happens after that. I've been way too scared to ask my banker, because I don't want to know the answer until I have to know. So I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. I've been having a lot of intrusive thoughts. Including thoughts of basically canceling my subscription to Life, which has not been a problem for me for many, many years. I have done so much work to get past that point, and now it feels like it's just all been destroyed. I've had 2 medical professionals tell me that because of my mental state, I should really consider some very intensive therapy options. And the problem with those is that they cost a lot of money that I don't have. And so I'm in this really awful position of like, how do I deal, how do I deal with this? What do I do? I don't know. Millennials, we kind of joke that, we've lived through, so many quote unquote once in a lifetime events that we've literally lost track. And this is definitely one of them. I looked at the history of interest rates over the years, and I think the last time that mortgage rates rose this high, this quick, was 1980, which was a decade before I was born. How could I have prepared for this? What was I supposed to do? And, I don't know what to do. I know I can, I have the space. I can get a roommate, either long-term or like do, Airbnb type stuff. So I have options. I can, the number of times in my life where I've only worked one job instead of several has been the minority of my working life. So it's like, I know I could do that, and I have a lot of resources to do that, but it's been really hard, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody. So all I can say right now, I can say 2 things. Number 1, if you're planning on buying a home, if you're planning on building, don't wait until things calm down again. And I have no idea when that's going to be, and that sucks. Everyone keeps telling me interest rates are going to go down again, but I don't know when that's going to be. And so it's really hard for me to see that as a comfort. And the other thing is, I told my parents that if the stress of this kills me, I want them to take my putrefied corpse and catapult it into Jerome Powell's home. I want him to see what he's done. I want him to see what pain this is causing. It's not theoretical. It's not just numbers on a balance sheet. It's real people. It's real people who don't have a lot of options and are trying to scramble to figure out what to do. This is real. And I'm gonna make it through the next 10 days. I'm gonna do it one way or another, but I don't know what's gonna happen after that, and that's really scary. So I'm trying. I really am, but it's been really, really hard. So that was last Sunday afternoon. It is about 11 o'clock, a week later, and just getting done with working on the floors. My friend Eric helped me get a bunch of the floors done, and some of the tile on the bathroom floor. So this might actually get done. We have a bunch of inspections tomorrow, including the certificate of occupancy inspection. Hopefully those all go well. And then we have to be done by Thursday morning. So we might actually pull it off. We'll see. But yeah, it's definitely been some of the most stressful few weeks of my life. And either way, I'll be done with at least this portion of it. We'll see what the rest holds. So it's Wednesday night. I have to have everything done by tonight that I can. My general contractor and his crew are coming back to do the rest of the baseboards. They weren't able to get them done today. but I have a mirror in my guest bathroom now. Too scared to try the my mirror by myself, but maybe I'll give it the courage. This isn't the greatest hanging job, but I'll end up putting a frame around it later. So yeah, down to the wire. It looks like we're gonna make it happen. So it's mid-December and been living in the house for about a week and a half now, and kind of slowly everything's getting better day by day. Basically the last month of it, we kind of worked a miracle. My general contractor pulled out all the stops. He basically rescheduled everything for 2 weeks so he could be down here to help me get finished. My parents basically like put a bunch of their lives on hold to help out with stuff. My dad especially was here like pretty much every day for like 2 or 3 weeks doing things. My aunt and uncle came down. They did a lot. I even had, friends that were here with me until 10 o'clock at night helping with like the flooring and all that kind of stuff, and we got it done. And so now it's kind of the rest of everything kind of looms large. There's definitely kind of like this happily ever after narrative that goes along with any sort of like building or renovation, where it's like once it's done you're just so relieved that it's done. And maybe that would have been the case had interest rates not skyrocketed, but right now it's like, okay, I have this house that I worked so hard for, and I fought like hell to keep it. Everybody fought like hell to keep it, and now it's not quite the situation that I thought it was going to be. So that's been a challenge for me to deal with mentally. Just because, it hasn't been kind of the fairy tale that I kind of had in my head. And it's like, I realize now it's a fairy tale, and to a certain extent, I kind of always knew that once I was done, I would have a big like adrenaline crash. Just because it's like there were so many moving parts and everything was just all over the place during the build, but especially the last month of trying to get everything done, and just racing to the end was really hard. It took a big toll on me. It took a big toll on a lot of people. I mean, I'm so incredibly grateful for all the help I had. It's just like none of this would have been possible without it. And I'll probably go a little bit more into what exactly like happened, but basically, The stress was so bad that I developed a stutter for the first time in my life, which scared me a lot. Yeah, I'd never had a stutter before, and so it first started happening, I thought I was having a stroke. Like that's how out of the blue it was, and how different it was from everything that happened. And then eventually I figured out, like, no, I'm not having a stroke. This is just everything manifesting, and it scared everybody around me too. Um, but eventually, kind of once it was like, okay, we can do this now. We can make this happen. It got better. Um, but I'm still reeling from the effects of it. Like there's still a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be done. Even though the bank was like, it has to be like completely ready to sell in order for you to close. We didn't quite get there, but they still let us close and let me keep my interest rate. So, yeah, I'm like, okay. And then they were very set on having everything done by a certain day, and then we got everything done, out by that day. We had the appraiser come out on the day he was supposed to, and we had all the municipal inspections on the day we were supposed to, and they were like, that's great. We can't close on the day that we told you we have to close, but that's okay. We'll just close a few days later, and you can still keep your interest rate. And it was like, just kind of, just brought back like how arbitrary this all is and how much stress, like, basically I went through for, really no reason. Like, there was no reason I had to go through what I went through to get this done. If they could have just, like, said, like, we're just gonna, let you keep your interest rate, it'll be fine, you can do this for as long as you need to. But that wasn't something that they were willing to offer, and I just have to live with it now. Something that I've had to come to terms with is that the world in which I started this build 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, is not the world that I'm in now. And I'm not unique in that way. It's definitely like, even just things like if you started building in like 2019 and you were building into 2020, then yeah, definitely it was the same thing. The world you started your build in was not the world you ended your build in. So I'm definitely not unique in that way, but I feel like a lot of the challenges I went through were entirely preventable, and decisions were made by people who are just looking at, like, numbers, and they're not actually like considering like what impact these decisions have. So it's very strange to kind of try to appeal to someone's not even better nature, but just saying, hey, you do realize that this is like really having a big effect. And they, I kind of kept hearing, when I would kind of plead for mercy from people, would be like, well, I feel for your situation, but there's nothing I can do. And it's like, no, there's actually a lot you can do. You just don't want to do it. And I say that not to villainize people, because I'm in that same position every day. There's I know intellectually there's a lot of stuff that I could do that would make things easier on a lot of people, and I don't. And a lot of the reason for that is purely selfish. I don't do those things because, it could mean I would like lose my job, or it would mean that, I'd have to go through a lot of very uncomfortable things with like my boss or my neighbors or, anything. And I wonder how much longer we're going to kind of decide to be completely capricious about this. I'm recording this on a day that, the Federal Reserve just hiked rates again. And I remember when we were starting out on this, we closed in late January on the construction loan, and I remember asking about the interest rates, like, hey, what's going to happen about this? these rising interest rates. And I was told, oh, don't worry about it. They don't usually go up that fast. They'll go up maybe 1%, maybe 1.5%. You don't have to worry about it. And yeah, so that is not what happened. I think my interest rate for the construction loan was like 3.5 or somewhere around there, and my rate for the permanent loan is 5.5. And if I had lost that rate, if we hadn't finished in time, for the bank, and the bank hadn't decided to be nice to me, and I just was not willing to gamble on them being nice to me, I think my interest rate would have been like 7 point something. So, it sounds like minuscule on paper, but it's a really, really big deal. I mean, like I said, the jump from like 5.5 to 7 would have added about $700 a month to my mortgage payment. And when I'm already struggling with the mortgage payment, when I'm already like, having to take up like, second jobs and try to figure out how I can do like some freelance work, or, maybe like just some pet sitting or something to kind of have that. I mean, like having it go up another $700 I would have had to tell the bank, like, I can't, there's no way. There's no way. I can't, there's no way I can afford this. So like, what do we do? And I guess I just have to be grateful that it didn't get to that point, but it was a very near thing that it did. And it was kind of one of those where it's like, if a few things had gone differently, or even just like one or two things, like my general contractor hadn't been able to like reschedule everything for 2 weeks, or my parents couldn't have come down and helped me out as they did, I didn't have the friends helping me out, yeah, we wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have made it. And so if you are building right now, like if you're still in this, you have my utmost sympathies. Like this sucks. It's like, at least if you're like, if you're buying, you can kind of go, you can decide to take a break, or you can like reduce like the amount, reduce your budget or something like that. It's like, once we started, like we couldn't change stuff. It's like, I couldn't have all of a sudden like, it's like the panels were ordered in January. So it's like, I couldn't have like in July been like, no, actually, like, never mind. I want to like make this house like half the size it was. It's like, by then everything was, was a unstoppable train. We couldn't just stop and turn around. So it's definitely not, it's not something that I would advise people do right now. Like if you are thinking about doing any building, unless you have cash, like unless you're able to just like pay for everything like straight up, like I would say like don't do it now. Figure out something. I mean, at the very least, until things are more stable, because it's like, okay, so if you know what like the interest rates or the material prices are going to be, and you can plan on it, that's one thing. But if you start with like, okay, our budget is going to be this, because that means that the end payment is going to be that, and all of a sudden everything changes in the middle, it's like you can't really account for that. And it's like, I really, really tried, but yeah, despite my best efforts, everything just kind of got away from me. So I'll, I've got projects, so I'll try to, kind of film those as I work on them. One of the things is like, I want to change all of the cabinet stuff from, the stuff that it came with soft close, because I couldn't get soft close when I ordered them. So it's just something I'll do myself. And right now a lot of it is actually just recovery. I've kind of joked that I feel like the, muscular dog, small dog meme, where it's like muscular dog was me in September, putting down the underlayment for the basement floor while I had COVID. And then December me is small dog who says, building IKEA cabinets is hard. But I'll kind of keep going with that, and then I'll start thinking about the kind of the guide, the building guide. I still want to do that, but it's probably gonna be very different than what I had thought it was gonna be when I started. So I need some time to kind of gather my thoughts around that. So there'll definitely be some more videos coming out, but unfortunately, for the last part of the build process, I just didn't end up filming any of it because I just did not have the mindset to set anything up or have anything ready. It just was like, I just had to get through it. So yeah, so unfortunately there's not going to be any forthcoming videos of putting in the floors or, you know, the cabinets or anything like that, because it didn't get filmed. So yeah, that's kind of the update, the mental toll of building a house. When the world changes basically while you're doing it. And so, like I said, if you are looking to do stuff now, I would definitely hold off if you can. But I do realize that for a lot of people, that's just not practical. If you've already committed to, you know, to a whole bunch of stuff and things are on order and, you know, loans have been signed and all that kind of stuff, like, yeah, you can't really do that. But if you are in that process now, I would definitely recommend like figuring out where you can cut costs now, because you're gonna need to. The budget that, unless you only just started budgeting now, in which case you wouldn't be building now, the budget you started with is not the budget you're gonna end up with. So like I said, just anticipate doing that now, and then yeah, kind of make plans. But yeah, but like I said, we're in. Pachi seems like she likes it here. She likes the backyard. That's gonna be another big project that I'm gonna work on next year. Right now we just probably got like 6 inches of snow today, so it's not, you know, it's there's no landscaping that's gonna be happening for quite a few months. So I kind of have time to think about what I want to do there and figure out what my budget could be for getting all of that done. So yeah, so there's, you know, there's stuff going forward and I'll be able to keep making videos. But like I said, for right now, I need a little bit of time to recover. And it's gonna be a process, but it's something that I'm pretty sure that I can handle, you know. There wasn't anything here in January. You know, it's December and there's a house here. And so I can acknowledge that it was a very stressful process, and it took more from me than I thought it was going to, but it's still something that I did, and it's like I have to remind myself to be proud of it. A lot of times I feel like I did somewhat fail, even though I didn't. So it's going to be a process going forward.